The 7 stages of overcoming trauma are huge to understand. The minute this happens and you have to fall out of love, you're going to go into panic, denial, agony, rage, epiphany, negotiation, and peace. And it's not going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You might wake up in the middle of the night and you're in a panic. Or you might wake up the next morning pretending none of this ever happened. That's denial. Or in the middle of the day, you may suddenly be overwhelmed with anger or tremendous grief. You know, it depends on how bad the situation is. It isn't always based on love. It may be that a divorce is causing you to have to give up so much of your life, so much of your lifestyle, your whole environment, etc. So that's why they say that getting married is one of the, 7 most stressful events, in the world, according to the home schedule of stressful events. Not just a divorce, not just any of the other things we think of as negative, but a marriage too. So be very careful and prepare yourself with the skills that I teach so that when these emotions hit you, you can, as I've been doing, go straight into epiphany. Know that negotiation is always you and you. It may look as if you're negotiating with her or negotiating with him, but in fact, you're negotiating with what you can tolerate with a smile, an authentic smile. What can you put up with? And when you find that thing you can't put up with, then there's no point in pretending to be cooperative because you don't mean it. And then ultimately peace is when you accept. And for me, I am in a state of just peace and appreciation and love. And it's just very, very different. It's not pain. It's not panic, denial, agony, or rage. It's just acceptance and peace and gratitude.
Well, you know what you need and what matters, and it's just so helpful. That's why you can help other people transform into that mindset.
Yeah. And I should say very briefly, there's the emotional guidance scale. Email me for it. You've got to be at the very top. Self-empathy, which you know what that is. The 4 questions of inquiry. If you don't know what that is, email me for it. Sage your house. Sage your house, sage your body, sage the bottom of your feet. I did that right away Thursday night before I went to sleep. And by the time I woke up Friday morning, I was calm, I was peaceful, I was in the transformation. Now, I've been working at this for a long time. This may not happen as quickly for you. And you want to have the skills, so it does. And then finally, the cutting the cord exercise, but be vulnerable now, be open now. Be in your feelings now. Don't try to cut the cord and stuff your feelings and stuff this whole thing in a closet and try to lock it. It won't help you.
Not at all. Not ever. It will come out.
Through the keyhole.
Okay, so even let's say you're in a beautiful relationship and if your partner is only willing to go so far and he or she won't merge emotionally, physically, or co-create a life together, then what can we do?
Oh, sailor. Yeah, you can't. If someone, again, if you're watching this show, you understand about whole brain function. You understand about the joy of life. You understand body, that's the physical, sexual. Then there's the mind, where you're honest and open and deeply intimate with language. And you understand spirit, where that becomes the final result of the sexual experiences. You've heard me say, my friend calls it the upward spiral. Beautiful term. If ever 2 were one, then surely we. So everyone I say this to, and this is a quote from a very famous early American poet, Anne Bradstreet, and you can look her up on Wikipedia and read her poetry, but that concept, if that makes you feel the joy that it made Gigi when she heard it, the joy that it gave me when I first heard it, then you can't live without that. And if you can't live without that, why would you want to live without that? Then you have to have the physical, sexual, spiritual experience. And as much as you might want to have it, you can't have it with anybody. There are going to be very, very, very few people that you can experience this with, because it's brain chemistry, it's biochemistry, it's very complicated.
Beautifully said. I know that you really do believe that most couples will really benefit greatly from staying friends. So can you describe why this is so important and perhaps when it is not so helpful?
Well, I just had this conversation with a friend, and he said, you know, I wouldn't want to be friends with anyone where there's been a sexual relationship. That just, you know, doesn't work for me. Which is the opposite of my perspective, because my perspective is always focused on the emotional connection of love. And I know that love never dies, and I know that people who've died are still present with me when I allow them to be. And I know that love is a non-physical experience that exists between two people forever, through the next lifetime, through the next 100 lifetimes. And people reincarnate in families and groups. And that doesn't mean they're all related. It means that you recognize one another. And when you recognize one another, sometimes it can be because you have to complete some misery from the past, so be careful. And sometimes it's because there's this deep, deep love. And so the purpose of remaining friends with someone is, I can't imagine, Gigi and I've talked about this, you know, we can't imagine when you've deeply loved someone and that experience has, to whatever degree, been mutual. The idea of never speaking to that person again is fairly horrific. Now, you know, I'm getting through it, I'm getting past it, I'm getting over it, and it's just absolutely not my choice. So think about it for yourself. If you're in a love relationship and it ends for whatever reason, really deeply contemplate your choices.